Hello everyone, welcome back to Aboderie. We have just got back from a lovely holiday on the island of Jersey. My husband's parents still live there, so it's partly a visiting family and partly a holiday. One thing we love about Jersey, apart from the beautiful beaches, is that they have some of the best thrift stores in the world. I can't really say that because I haven't been to every thrift store in the world, but in my experience, they're some of the best that I've ever been to. Lots of beautiful antique treasures, brands much cheaper than you might get them brand new, so plenty to get excited about. And we're about to move house, so I also had lots of ideas in my head of things that I wanted to look for, as well as things that I've been on the lookout for my kids. So plenty to get excited about and lots to show you today. I did just want to mention one thing, which is that I don't want this video to encourage you to go out and spend loads of money. A lot of these purchases were really carefully thought out, and I went in knowing that I had a bit of money to spend for our new house on things that we really needed for our children. So I was quite selective, and although I've got a fair amount to show you today, it was all, like I said, very carefully thought out. So yes, please don't let this video encourage you to go out and spend loads of money you don't have. That's certainly not good for mental health, I've found in my experience, but also not great for the planet. Take this with a pinch of salt, enjoy it, let it encourage you to shop secondhand, but don't let it encourage you to overconsume. Okay, with that said, let me show you what I bought. Okay, I'm going to start with one of my absolute favourite things I found because I can't wait to show it to you, and that is this beautiful antique abacus. I have been looking for things for my children that are kind of educational but also beautiful. We're thinking at the moment about whether we want to homeschool or not. We're not totally set on it, but whilst we're thinking about it, I have had an eye out for anything that might help us in our homeschooling journey, or if we don't eventually decide to homeschool, it will just be helpful, educational, lovely things to have for our children around the home. So when I saw this, I thought it was absolutely perfect. The downside is that it's not decimal, I guess. It looks like it's set up for like old style British money, but even so, I think it will be a lovely thing to have and will certainly help with counting and things like that. And it was only 50p, so quite a bargain. Next up, I found these two glass bottles. Not something I would usually necessarily pick up at a charity shop, but these are a brand called glassware, which is, as far as I'm aware, quite an old brand, French brand. And I often see these on Etsy for quite a lot of money, and these are only £2 each, so I thought I would get those because they're helpful to have around the house, but always using them to store water bottles, and I also put homemade kombucha in them as well, so very useful. The next thing I found were these pudding basins. These are so useful for me in the kitchen. I do a lot of cooking, a lot of baking with my children, and proper high quality ones like this will last for years and years and years. I saw these and I thought, if they're made by Mason Cash, I will buy them, and sure enough they were Mason Cash. So hopefully they will last me many years, even though they're second hand, and they were £2.50 each, so quite a bit cheaper than buying them new. Another thing that I'm always on the lookout for at charity shops is baskets. So I found these, in fact they were one of the first things I found, and I just put them straight in my trolley because I knew that they would be useful. We use them to store toys for the children, so if you follow a kind of Montessori open-ended play style, then it's really useful to have toys stored out in open baskets like this so that kids can see them. So the more baskets we have, the better, because it helps us to store more toys. I can't actually remember how much these were. I think it might have been £1 for all three because they weren't actually marked up, so they were definitely a bargain. Next up was another favourite of mine, which is this lovely bean crock. I love the simple handles, and it's got, if you can see, lovely blue stripes on the top. This was a bit of a pricey find, it was £20, but I can definitely see myself using this for storage in the kitchen, and I don't really have anything like this that's sort of decorative but still useful, so I thought it was definitely a good find for our new house. And then this sweet little stoneware vase was another thing that I can never have enough of because they're so lovely for decorating side tables and things like that. This one was only 50p, so to be honest this was a little bit of a cheeky buy, but given it was so cheap I thought it was worth picking up anyway. Before we move on to the next few things, two things which are too big for me to have here. So one is this beautiful gold picture frame, which again is a find that I had in mind for our new house. I will probably change out the picture in the middle, but I'm not 100% sure yet, so I'll keep you posted on that. And then the other thing was this amazing teepee that we bought for the kids. We've been thinking about getting a teepee for a while because my little boy loves to hide inside things and build dens, and so having a teepee out all the time in his play space is something that he really loves. But we didn't really want to spend full price on one because they're often like not particularly well constructed, or like there's not much to them, if that makes sense. So I had been thinking about DIYing one, but then I saw this one in the charity shop for, I think it was only £10, so it was a bit of a no-brainer. This one does have a few stains here and there, so that's one of the downsides, but I'm hoping that once I've cleaned it up a bit I can always patch over the stains or cover them with some embroidery or something like that. So yeah, definitely an exciting find for us. Next up, a few little bits and pieces of clothing, mostly winter finds, which is exciting. So this lovely dress for Margot, which I think is 18 to 24 months, so her next size up, and will be really lovely with tights in the winter. A little pair of beige corduroys. I think corduroy trousers are so useful because they're really hard wearing. My kids are always getting holes in the knees of their trousers, so I find this one lasts a lot longer. Another beautiful thing that I found was this vintage coat. So I think this will just about fit Margot for this winter, but I thought it was so beautiful that I couldn't leave it behind. Probably not the most practical of colours, so I'll probably keep this for days where we're not going to the park, but definitely likely to get a lot of wear out of a nice winter coat like this. And then possibly this will divide opinion, but I love it, so sorry. This amazing cardigan which I bought for Clem, I couldn't pass it up just because of the amount of handiwork that's gone into this embroidery patchwork on the front. It's got like a little llama, some cactuses, some rain clouds, and then it's even on the back as well. It's definitely got like a homemade sort of vibe to it, as you know, something that I really love. So yeah, I thought I'd better pick that up for him. Next up were a few little pieces that I have in mind for my craft supply and projects coming up. For a while I've wanted to make Margot a little pinafore that she can wear on days where we're doing messy play and things, where perhaps if she's wearing something nicer underneath, she can have a pinafore over the top to sort of take the dirt, if that makes sense. And then I saw this pattern in the charity shop, obviously, which has a pinafore pattern. These obviously look quite frilly, so I'll probably have to adapt them a bit to make them more suitable for this day and age. But that was something that I'd been looking for a while, so I was really pleased to find it. I'm always on the lookout for more handkerchiefs because for some reason, no matter how many I have, I never have enough. So I found these three lovely sort of, the colour is beautiful, it's like sort of clay pink with very pale sage green around the edge, so I thought they were really pretty, and I will get lots of use out of them because I use a handkerchief every day. And then a slightly random find, but I found two sets of 4, I think they must be placemats or napkins, but they're basically just squares of white, I think it must be cotton, with a blue check running through. And I will probably use these to make clothes for the kids because given that baby clothes are so small, you can often fit a pattern piece in one space, or else you can patch them together. In a sense, that was like getting 2 meters of fabric for £5, which I thought was quite good, and I really like the lovely check through it. Something else that I found for our home is this really sweet little frame. I'll probably change the picture out. As sweet as this little girl is, I don't know who she is, so it'd be a little bit strange. Although she does actually look quite like Margot. But I like the frame mostly, so I'll probably take out the picture and put in a family picture or something like that. But again, just something nice to have for our new home. Finally, I have quite a large stack of children's books here. Going back to what I said earlier about homeschooling, I've been on the lookout for books that I think are educational yet wonderful stories, if that makes sense. So if anyone knows anything about Charlotte Mason, I've been reading a lot about her recently, and she is big on something called living books. So these are stories that also teach children about the world. So if you think of any classic children's literature, so Peter Rabbit and other Beatrix Potter books, Winnie the Pooh, classic fairy tales often are like not so much teaching about the world, but might be teaching morals, for example. All sorts of books like that she advocates as a really wonderful way to teach children about the world. So even if, like I say, we don't end up homeschooling, I'm definitely trying to lean more into that style of book for our children. So when I found a few at the charity shops, I thought I'd better pick them up. So first of all, lots of small Winnie the Pooh books. They came in a pack of 6, and I think it was 50p for all of them, so they were really sweet. And I like these small ones because they're not too like hefty for a child to pick up by themselves. Glenn will often read a book while he's sitting on the toilet, but with some books they're so big that he finds it difficult to turn the pages whilst holding it, and so little ones like this are really wonderful. And they still have obviously all the beautiful Winnie the Pooh illustrations inside, so he can look at the pictures as well whilst he's on the toilet. Accidentally, at another shop, I also picked up another Winnie the Pooh book. I was not necessarily looking for lots of Winnie the Pooh, but we don't have any Winnie the Pooh yet, so it seemed like a good thing to pick up. This is the, what do you call it? Like the anthology of Winnie the Pooh stories called The House at Poo Corner. And I think this is probably quite an old version because obviously it doesn't have the dust jacket and the illustrations inside are just slightly less colourful, but it's in really good condition, so still definitely likely to get lots of use out of that. And I really like the cover as well. I think it's really pretty for like nursery decor, so happy with that. This next one is, I suppose, something by way of a bit of news from me as well. It was something I was going to keep, and I might yet do a separate video on it, but need I say more? We're having another baby. I saw this and knew that I had to have it. I was a massive fan of Miffy when I was a little girl, so our first Miffy, but very happy to have this particular one. Another book that I loved, or books rather, that I loved when I was little were the Little Grey Rabbit stories by Alison Utley. So I found this Little Grey Rabbit treasury, and again I think this is a really lovely living book because it teaches children about the world through sort of animals and nature, and the illustrations are really beautiful. So yeah, another really lovely find for reading living books with my kids. And then 2 more books which are mostly around folk tales or fairy tales. One of the things that I absolutely loved from my own childhood was reading folk tales and fairy tales with my mum. She was really good at introducing us to those, both for like the morality side, but more so just for sort of that fantastical side of literature, which I think helps kids to really love books. So I saw this beautiful illustrated version of The Pied Piper of Hamelin, and the illustrations are just amazing, really one of a kind. That was something that I really had to say yes to. I think the cover is beautiful, but also a really fun, interesting, exciting, slightly scary fairy tale for kids to enjoy. Finally, I found this one of the Hans Christian Andersen tales. This style is not one that I would necessarily go for, but I thought it was so unusual, so I went to get it anyway. I feel like, I'll just show you some of the illustrations. Exposing kids to like a wide variety of styles is something that I think is really important. So even if it's not something that I will necessarily enjoy, they might absolutely love it. Look at that Christmas tree. That's beautiful. Yeah, they will absolutely love it, I'm sure, because it's colourful and exciting. So I said yes to that one. And then one more, which I've just realised I forgot, is this amazing book about breastfeeding, which honestly was quite more just picked up for a laugh. But I opened it up and it just has the funniest pages. I'll insert a cutaway. But yeah, definitely more for laughing together rather than education. But you have to have different types of books for different situations, don't you? So there's that. I think that's everything. Thanks so much for coming along with me on this thrift trip. I hope it's given you some inspiration for secondhand shopping and some of the ways I like to live my life and things to look out for in charity shops. If you'd like more from me, then please do hit subscribe down below, or hit like on this video as well, because that really helps to send out the message of slow handmade home that I love to share with the world. You can also find me on Instagram, which I will leave a link for down below, or you can head over to my blog for more ideas. I think that's everything, so I will see you all next time. Bye!